Tonight, with the 3rd overall pick in the 2025 MLB Draft, the Seattle Mariners selected potentially their next frontline starting pitcher and lefty out of LSU, Kade Anderson. Kade led LSU to a national championship this year, was the top-rated starting pitcher in this draft, led the nation in innings pitched and strikeouts, was named the College World Series Most Outstanding Player, named Baseball America's College Pitcher of the Year, and he very well could be in the Mariners rotation as early as next year and potentially impact the bullpen maybe for the playoff push this year. In this video, we're going to dive into Kade's journey up to this point, his pitch arsenal, and potentially what this means for the rotation as early as next year for the Mariners. And before we get into it, for more Mariners content like this, make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube, find me across social medias for short form content, and share this video with a fellow Mariners fan. And with that, let's get into the video. Kade Anderson was born and raised in Louisiana. He attended St. Paul's High School in Covington, and during his high school career on the mound, he went 28-1 with a 0.22 ERA and 212 strikeouts. But he wasn't just a pitcher in high school. Throughout his career at the plate, he batted .481 with 120 hits, including 9 home runs. However, he would have to miss his senior year in high school after undergoing Tommy John surgery in April of 2022. This didn't stop him from being ranked as the number 2 overall player in Louisiana by Perfect Game for the class of 2023. He was also ranked as the number 19 left-handed pitcher and number 130 overall player in the nation by Perfect Game. Kade was able to finally step on the mound at LSU for the 2024 season, and he would go on to make 18 appearances, 9 of which were starts, posting a 4-2 record with a 3.99 ERA and 59 strikeouts in 38 1/3 innings. And then in his sophomore season at LSU as a 20-year-old, he had his coming out party. His 180 strikeouts and 119 innings pitched both led the nation. He had a 13.6 strikeouts per 9 and a 2.6 walks per 9, which led to a 12-1 record, a 3.18 ERA, a 1.059 whip. Also this past season, 11 of his 19 starts were double-digit strikeout outings, including a complete game shutout against Oklahoma with 14 strikeouts, in a complete game shutout in the College World Series Finals against Coastal Carolina. He went 9 innings, giving up 3 hits, 5 walks with 10 strikeouts, and he threw 130 pitches in that outing. And if you recall, there's also another LSU pitcher that recently led the nation in strikeouts, which is Paul Skeens. And he joins a stellar list of other LSU pitchers drafted top 8 overall. Again, Kade Anderson in 2025, Paul Skeens in 2023, Aaron Nola back in 2014, Kevin Gausman back in 2012, and then Ben McDonald back in 1989. Kade has a 4-pitch mix, a 4-seam fastball, a slider, curveball, and changeup, all of which are deemed plus pitches by analysts. He's currently listed at 6'2", 180. His fastball sits 92 to 94, but is touched 97, 98. His slider is currently in the mid-80s, and then his curveball and changeup are in the lower 80s. Some analysts are drawing comparisons of his stature and his arsenal to guys like Max Fried as well as Cole Hamels. Now some insights from the Mariners on Kade Anderson. The Mariners VP of Amateur Scouting, Scott Hunter, stated he's got a combination of George Kirby and Logan Gilbert. He wants to learn, wants to develop his pitches like Logan, and he's kind of stoic like George is. Just that silent competitor that may not say a whole lot, but when you talk to him, he says the right things and what's important to us and what's important to him. This is from an article from Daniel Kramer on MLB.com, so make sure to go check that out. But also from Hunter, he stated there were a couple of surprises already, and I think we were prepared for all of them, because we had interest in a lot of players that went ahead of us and that went right behind us. But to say this worked out as the best case scenario would be an understatement, since Kade was ranked pretty much number 1 on our board. If you were watching the draft, it was certainly a shock that Kade fell to 3. The Nationals took high school shortstop Eli Willits, and the Angels took a different college pitcher in Tyler Brebner, which allowed Kade to fall to number 3. Kramer also notes that Anderson agreed to terms on a signing bonus of roughly $8.8 million, which is roughly $700,000 below slot value for the pick, which will allow the club to reallocate that money elsewhere among the rest of their 21 picks. Seattle has a total bonus pool of just over $17 million, which is the second in all of baseball, only behind the Baltimore Orioles. Kramer also notes that because he's far more seasoned in his development, the Mariners believe that he could be on an accelerated path to the majors. Not far off from fellow LSU standout Paul Skeens, who was taken number 1 overall in the 2023 draft and made his debut less than 1 year later. So with Kade being stretched out to 119 innings this season at LSU, he's essentially ready to go for a full major league season next year. Of course, the big goal for MLB starting pitchers is to reach that 200 innings threshold on a yearly basis, but Kade Anderson, with how many innings he logged this past season at LSU, he's more stretched out basically than Brian Wu and Bryce Miller were when they debuted. Now the big question is, where will the Mariners start him out the rest of this year, and is there a potential for him to help out the Seattle Mariners out of the bullpen for a playoff push? I think the realistic answer for this year, of course, is no. However, SEC baseball is commonly compared to like high A baseball, potentially double A depending on the talent. And if you're thinking of high A to double A competition, Kade Anderson this year against SEC opponents was shutting them down. I think if they're aggressive with Kade this year, they start him out at double A Arkansas for a few outings, get him stretched back out. We're a couple weeks away from the deadline, so the Mariners could end up trading a starting pitcher either at this deadline or this offseason. Depending on where you're at with Brandon Garcia from the left side out of the bullpen or Hunter Cranton from the right side out of the bullpen this year, you could have some combination of Brandon Garcia, Hunter Cranton, Kade Anderson coming out of the bullpen for the Mariners this year. Try to reduce your needs list at the deadline a bit, use some in-house options, but at least I think this shows that the Mariners will trade at least one starting pitcher this offseason, and then you could slot in Kade Anderson at some point early next year if he's not in the rotation opening day. At the very least, Kade Anderson provides a very high floor, and like I mentioned earlier, his upside is a frontline starter, and it'll be awesome to see a lefty in the rotation starting at some point next year. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on the Mariners selecting Kade Anderson 3 overall. Do you think he has a shot at the bullpen this year, or when do you think he'll be in the rotation at some point next year? And who do the Mariners end up trading away from the rotation? Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.